Welcome to another weekend here on the platform. My name is Sam Omashe. My column will be read to you directly.
So your parents haven't paid. Is that why you're not?
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's antenna is high, his eyes and heart on the street. Hence, on his way to launch a program to help kids and oldies in the lower stratum, he freezes his convoy. He steps out of the vehicle for a business with two girls. Amarachi Chinedu, 9, and Suibat Hussaini, 12. It is about 11 a.m. They are not in school on a weekday. Both bear buckets on their head, when the same heads should worry over a math puzzle or a word or even a social studies question on the name of the governor of Lagos State or the location of Kano State. Amarachi is probably missing her classmates. Her memory is ebbing. All that math, all that English, all that high score, all gone because Mama, a teacher, has no money. Amarachi has had a taste, but what of Suibat, the Jigawa native, is a victim of gender bias. The parents want her home so the boys, 4 in all, can dwell in the light. The boys are in school. The girl will be blessed as keeper of home. The scenario? Maybe in a few years she will master the akara or kosei so well as to tease and please the taste bud of the suitor. The BOS of Lagos will not have that. He says they must be at school. Suibat can start, even though her mates are already in the secondary school. Knowledge cannot be too late. Suibat is lucky. It is not just the education she will get. She is getting a full-blooded mentorship from the governor and first lady. They will learn, they will burst into the light, they will become women, and it all begins with a seed from a man who decided not just to ride in luxury, but look out the window. But more issues arise from this. First is the point that these two girls are not of Lagos origin. The governor does not see Igbo in the case of Amarachi or Hausa Fulani in the story of Suibat. He sees Nigerians under his tutelage. Human beings he does not want to fall into routine and rot. As we enter a political season, this is a cautionary tale. It brings in context the need to know that we all belong to one commonwealth, and our wealth is only real if we do not see others as common. It takes what the Yoruba call omoluabi to translate knowledge into empathy. Secondly, we notice that both are girls. It reflects the bias against female in this society. We often emphasize the girl-child problem as a northern jab, but Amarachi is no better than the northerner. Suibat's case highlights the northern disdain of the girl. Boys first or boys only. Boys will lead, girls will wed. Boys rise, girls wife. That is not the future we seek. That is what BOS has noted. Amarachi's case reminds us of the growing contempt for public school. Mama prefers her daughter out of private school than in a free public school. The governor took advantage of that episode to evangelize public schools, noting a lot of the state's investment in that sector. Some of them are better than many private ones. It is not perfect yet, but the story raises awareness why some of the virtues of Lagos schools must become front burner. We cannot forget the governor's gesture as a call for public charity. We hear over time the debate as to which is better, private benevolence or public good. Both have their places. An act of public charity, especially of this sort, will spur others. It is an example in being your neighbor's keeper. That was Governor Sanwo-Olu's message. The girls may be inventors, presidents, governors, writers, singers, or philanthropists tomorrow. The governor wanted them, in the words of Emerson, live the life you imagine. That dream had its first wing that morning.
Welcome to Big Talk. I have a special guest for you this weekend. And it is my privilege to introduce you to Professor Ebun Clark, Professor Extraordinary and Professor of English. Welcome to this show.
Thank you.
I want to ask first the question about appellation. Is it Professor of English or Professor of Theatre? You've been in speech, you've been in theatre, you've been in English. Which one is the best way to...
Well, my appointment or contract with University of Lagos, which I still hold, is Professor of English, because at that time there was no theatre arts. So I grew my career in the English department as a pioneer member of that department.
You're talking of Lagos or Ibadan?
In Ibadan University, I was the pioneer member of the School of Drama.
Exactly.
Where I taught from 63 to 65. And when my husband was appointed to Lagos, I applied and I got the job. But they didn't have a theatre department there. So I grew my career as a lecturer in speech to begin with, and then moved to the literature unit as lecturer in dramatic arts, right, dramatic literature. All right, so I wear many hats.
Yeah. You're also Director of Cultural Studies.
Yes, I was appointed that in... when I say appointed, I really mean appointed. I wasn't redeployed or deployed by the Vice Chancellor. The Council of the University of Lagos appointed me as Director of Center for Cultural Studies in 1982. So I hold two titles, actually, Professor and Director, by contract and by appointment.
Which one is more exciting? What is the difference? Some people would say, what's the difference between teaching speech and teaching dramatic literature?
A lot of difference. You're speaking right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
My job was to correct the spoken English of my students. First of all, it was for the whole of the students in the Faculty of Arts. And since I was the only specialist, I appealed to the faculty and to the university that I can't cope with the whole faculty. So they said, please just restrict me to English department. So I taught spoken English speech for 14 years, 2 years in Ibadan, 12 years in Lagos, before moving to literature. When I got my MPhil in English.
Now, some people want to know what's the difference between dramatic literature and literature, because some people have said that theatre, or what we call theatre, is different from literature.
True, but theatre houses a lot. Theatre houses the whole of creative arts within its space.
Music, dance.
Music, dance, visual art. Plays, sometimes plays that have been made, created from fiction, and you can even have poetry recital within a theatrical environment. So theater is let's say, the generic space, and it has a life of its own. I'm a theater historian.
Yes.
I'm a person with many caps and hats. Okay.
Yeah, but
so there is a lot of difference, but the major genre within the theatre, or a major genre, is dramatic literature. A play should be seen first before it's published. Generally, that is so.
Should be seen first before it's published. But it's not always so.
Not in this country.
But there's what they call closet theatre.
That is a hidden one.
Yes.
That needs to be hidden.
Yes.
Well, not in this country, but in England, you had for centuries, I think from 12th century, to 1968, you had what was known as a theatre act. No other artistic genre was ferociously controlled by governance in that country, or theatre, for various reasons. And therefore, if the person who would give the permission for a play to be shown is not shown, then you can do it privately. That's hidden, not publicly.
Yeah, some people also define closet theatre as
theatre
as theatre that is written but is dramatized in the imagination.
Well, there are lots of interpretations. I've given you one, which has to do with the law and an act, all right, which is done privately, in a private space, not publicly, all right? Then you can have that imagination one, but that's a thing. I think that's a bit far-fetched.
As a pioneer professor or academic in your field, did you feel a special challenge?
A lot, because especially where drama was concerned. In the School of Drama, 63, the first time that that subject was offered in the oldest university,
yes,
but not the first Nigerian university. I always say like Lagos, University of Lagos
is the
first Nigerian university. And Ibadan is the second.
It was University College
of London.
Was tied to the apron strings of London.
It was not owned by Nigeria.
Yes.
It was owned by Nigeria from 1963. I was there when Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa conferred the autonomy to, separation from London University. I was at that program. As a pioneer member of a subject, you're given a cutlass, you're shown the forest, and you're asked cut, start cutting the road.
Pathfinder.
You had absolutely no idea what to do. I've just come as a graduate of a drama institution, one of the best in the country, in England. And
Bruford.
Rose Bruford. Yes. And it's now a university, I believe.
Yes.
By itself, not attached to any other university. Yes. University by itself, I believe. And so who could I go to? You just had to use your training and start cutting. And I had to teach quite a lot of theater subjects by myself until they hired more people. And so we cut the forest, and other people are now using it.
But you especially as a woman.
Oh, well, yes. Africa and Nigeria as a whole is not really very, generous towards women. I'm sure you agree with me.
I agree with you.
And I must say, people were very kind to me, though, especially in Ibadan. And I was all right. But it was a challenge, no doubt. Definitely a challenge. And Ibadan was mainly, it was mainly expatrients still there at my time.
Yes.
90-something% expatriates. If you look at
British.
Very British, right? Very few of us were full-time member of staff of the university, especially women. I think there were only about 3 of us in this academic section, some in administration. Of course, my seniors, I always look up to them. Professor Bolanle Awe, who I adore.
Yes, so what would you say about Bolanle Awe?
Oh, she's such a wonderful woman.
Yes.
And so humble.
She's also a pioneer like you.
Yes. Oh, in fact, she was a member of staff University of London.
Yes.
Before Ibadan.
Yes.
Very few people know this. She's an incredible woman. Incredible woman. She's my role model. One of my role models.
Other people you met there.
Oh, of course, she was Professor Williams. Dr. Alele Williams.
Dr. Alele Williams.
In fact,
now Professor Alele Williams.
Of course,
and
an incredible talent.
She was also
they
on this show.
They are my role models again. I look up to them, and I remember, I must tell you one story about her because nobody knows this, and we're all enjoying what she fought for with us. I just finished a lecture in the late afternoon, and I was getting to my car in the car park in front of Theatre Arts building in Ibadan. And she stuck out a paper to me and said, "Eben, sign." And I looked at this gorgeous woman, and I said, "What do you want me to sign?" He said, "Your husband has collected your leave allowance." I said, "What?" So I looked at it, and I signed straight away. And she went around all the women in the campus, said, "Sign, you haven't got your leave allowance. They've given it to your husband. Only single women can collect leave allowance. If you're married, it goes to your husband." You're laughing. So the following week, after she finished, she called me and took her somebody else, not many of us, and then we went to see the bursar, who was one Mr. Preston. And he looked at us and said, "What is this Amazonic presence here?" So she said, we all said, "Next year, if you don't pay us our leave allowance, our end of year bonus, which you call bonus now, we will not teach. We will not work." let our husbands teach for us.
Yes.
And so forth. And so Preston laughed. And so he took the paper. And the following year, we were paid our
Did you confront your husband?
He didn't know anything about it. He had spent it.
He had spent it. We're talking of the legendary poet J.P. Clark.
So he said, yes. I said, you collected 2 allowances, yours and mine.
Yeah.
You know? And other universities got to hear and then paid. Yeah. And civil service.
But did they refund it?
And it came.
Did they refund?
Well, I don't know. I can't remember. You have to go and ask him. Wake him up. All right. And this came from the professor.
Okay.
As Mrs. Adefaras's group did the label maternity leave. You know, we had no maternity leave at all until 1978. I had 3 children with no maternity leave. You know, if you were away, you had no pay. So women have done a lot for women in this country, and we're still downtrodden. We've got to get rid of you.
Yeah, with a lot of effort. Because you gave birth to us, so you have to deal with that.
That's true.
Well, the other point too is you also met J.P. Clark.
Yes, there.
There?
Yeah.
How was that encounter?
Not very pleasant to begin with. But it turned out all right for 56 and a half years.
Yes.
It was okay.
Very interesting personality.
Yeah.
And you had to collaborate in a number of things, including the Peck Theatre.
Yes, that's much later. I dumped my research knowledge on him, theatre knowledge.
Now, tell us about your fascination. No, before that, I want to ask a question about your parents. Odutola, people don't know that apart from being Clark, that you were Ni Odutola.
They don't know I'm a Nigerian, period.
They don't know. Some people said they didn't know you're Nigerian. Tell us about that.
Well, I don't know. I can't tell you.
Some people said you were not Nigerian. They thought that you were probably from the Caribbean.
I'm ancestrally Ijebu.
Ijebu?
My mother's side is ancestrally Ijebu. She was Miss Ogunbanjo, and I think you know that name.
Yes.
From Chief Christopher Ogunbanjo. She was Chief Christopher Ogunbanjo's elder sister. So I'm directly his niece, you know. In fact, his eldest niece. And then on my father's side, I'm ancestrally Ijebu, Odutola.
Odutola. And
so
which
I
means
have a little bit of Ibadan in me, which I don't want to mention at all.
Just a sprinkle.
Just a sprinkle, yes. Otherwise, I'm ancestrally.
Yeah. There's also apart from that.
I don't think even Ogun State knows.
There
are
certain dualities. There's certain dualities in your life. You're Ijebu.
Yeah.
You're married to Niger Delta.
Yes, at a time when it was impossible.
It was impossible, and you did it. Why did you say it was impossible? Because
intermarriage, interethnic marriage was frowned out.
Yes.
Especially on a certain level.
Yes.
Was frowned out.
Yes.
And, you could marry an Ijaw woman, but not,
not the other way, yes.
Right? It was for everybody.
Yes.
It was, it was frowned out with them, it was frowned out by the Igbos, it was frowned out by everybody.
So how did
women cannot go.
Yeah, so how did you pull it off?
Well, when my father wouldn't agree, I ran away.
You ran away to, both of you eloped?
Yeah, we eloped. But the question could be asked, can you elope at the age of 22? But in Nigeria, you can.
Could.
Because the parents must agree. The family marriage must be agreed.
Then they acquiesced eventually?
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, how did you do that?
I don't know, it just happened that my father eventually became, quite fond of him.
Yes.
He has his books still.
Well, it's interesting too. Ironically, you were not fond of JP, and the gate crashed your party, and you asked, "What is this man doing here? Yes, I didn't invite him."
With Flora and Wapa.
Flora and Wapa, yes.
The novelist, yes.
The novelist, yes.
Yes, he heard that my uncle was giving me a party for eventually returning to the country, and I certainly didn't invite him. So. And I suddenly saw him and Flora and Mapa in my party at her papa and my uncle's house at papa, and I asked my loving aunt, "What did you do? Are you the one who invited this man
here?" And she said, "No, I didn't."
Can you get him out?
It was rude to me the last time I saw him.
Yes.
probably
I think it was the
rudeness of affection.
I don't know. I wouldn't know.
The impetuosity.
I don't know. I was
the
young.
Impetuosity of romance.
I was young and coping with a high-powered job.
Yes. That's one of the dualities. The other duality is the fact that you come from money and then you go into letters, which is no money.
Well, the interesting thing about coming from money, you really don't think you do come from money.
Yes, you don't think so. Yes, you don't think it. You take it for granted.
It's not taken for granted because it's not given to you on a plate,
on a platter.
It's not given to you like that. In fact, I thought we were very ordinary, And, if somebody asked me, what does your father do? I say, it's a business man, finish.
But that's not the case today.
I wouldn't know. But in my own
the people
time,
of means.
I see. My own time, we really didn't think about it at all. Truly, we didn't.
You didn't have any classes.
If you talk about closet, we lived a very closet life,
But when you were in England,
well, that was even more closet.
Then the other.
I went there 6 years after World War II.
Yes.
So I saw the aftermath of
the ruins of
ruins and the aftermath. I went through it. I had my rationing card. I went through rationing. All those, yes. And I saw, I was there when King George VI was king, and saw him on television waving to his daughter last time, and I saw her returning as a queen. But I didn't know as a colonial subject that I was changing from being His Majesty's subject to being Her Majesty's subject. Even at that age, because we sang nothing but God Save the King, and then God Save the Queen. We didn't have our own national anthem. So, of course, you're going to have that kind of duality. Any of us who were brought up within the colonial system will have that duality.
They also tell us about the fact that your dad didn't want you to study what you studied, and eventually became proud of you.
Very, very. Yes. Very, very. He wanted me to be a doctor.
Yes.
And if not a doctor, a lawyer.
A lawyer.
My school didn't tell me about the lawyer side of it,
yes,
but they told me about the medicine. And it happened that my principal sister was one of the most powerful doctors in England, Professor Kitty Lloyd-Williams, who was the dean of Royal Free and then became the dean of London Medical Schools. She was the one who used to come to visit University of Ibadan Medical School to examine it if it could become autonomous. Understand? She would lead a team, and she would come to the school before going. I'll be called to come and see her. She's going to my country, and this is. And she said to me one day, "Edmund, you cannot be a doctor. You're far too flighty. You will forget the cotton wool inside of somebody's stomach." That was that. And I nodded. This was at the age of 9. Can you imagine that? She met me at the age of 9 in the prep school or primary school of this school. And so I'd known her for years. And I'm always grateful to her, really, because I think she saw very well that I'll be a very bad doctor, really very bad. I don't know how many people I would kill,
Probably not.
But she was one of my, incredible supporter of the subject I thought I was good at. That's speech and drama.
Speech and drama. And then you did it, and your dad was particularly resistant to it.
Yes, it would be if you're going to spend all that money and somebody is going to go and do speech and drama. Where is that in the list of anywhere? It's now all right because some of us pioneered it, and we succeeded in pioneering it. So you now have 30-something creative arts departments. You get my point. All sorts of places, even in polytechnics, I think they have. So of course he wasn't happy to begin with. But when I was awarded the gold medalist of Great Britain and Ireland in the Associated Board of Royal Associate Board of Speech and Drama. I got the gold medalist. I was declared the gold medalist, which meant that I had the highest distinction, and also I was in the gold medal distinction part. First of all, the result was, congratulations, you got distinction. I was very happy. Thank God I finished that.
You had a party for that?
I don't think I remember that. No, I was in England. I don't think I had a party. It's only in Nigeria you have a party for everything. I was staying with a friend, and they just congratulated me, and that was that. 2 weeks later, you know, my principal phoned, and I had left school. I said, no, you're not just distinction. You are a gold medalist of Great Britain and Ireland. And Daily Times carried it, the radio carried it. I think that there was Western Nigeria television was on, and I carried it. My father's telephone couldn't stop ringing. It was ringing. So he said, oh, there's something in this. You know? In the meantime, I had flunked all my science subjects.
Maybe deliberately. Did you do some of it deliberately?
No, I'm not going to say that one. The maths was deliberate because I was very good at maths.
Maths, okay.
You know, but as long as I didn't have maths.
There was no way you could do the others.
But I could be a doctor. I could be in speech and drama. I could be in English. I could be in the humanities with that maths. You know, we didn't need maths.
Yes.
So he had to change me from being a science student to arts.
Thank you for being on this show. You can join me on my column at www.samomashe.com and on my Twitter @SamOmashe. And until next time, be good.